So this video is for a lot of the new moms, especially out there right now, that don't know what to expect during labor and maybe have some questions or fears about, what is it supposed to feel like? If you go into labor early, is everything going to be okay? I just wanted to speak from, my new experience. I had her in August on the 1st, so it was very recent. My first child, and she was 8 weeks early. I just wanted to share with you my experience, what happened to me. It was an unexpected home birth. I did not know I was in labor. Now that might sound crazy, but labor's not always painful. I did not have any pain throughout the entire labor at all. The only part that hurt was when her shoulders came out, and it was only for a split second. And by the time that happened, I was so focused on her and what was happening to her that it didn't even matter. It just was something that happened. So my pregnancy was kind of unique. I know most women don't have to deal with this, but I was diagnosed with what they call HG, or I can't even pronounce it, I'm not sure. But look up HG pregnancy, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. It is the worst case of nausea that pregnant women ever have to deal with. It was terrible. It was like the worst case of the flu every day of the pregnancy. Waking up at 4:30 in the morning every day without fail, being sick. Sometimes not stopping. Had to be hospitalized a handful of times for dehydration. No medicines worked. I couldn't even take prenatal vitamins because it got so bad. I would take them and instantly puke them back up. So our biggest struggle was just keeping me hydrated and fed throughout the entire pregnancy. I actually lost weight. I weighed less after birth than I did before I found out I was pregnant. Of course, I've gained a little bit since then because I can finally eat again, and that has been so nice. But that day that I went into labor, I guess I should start there, was actually a better day than normal. I hadn't felt very nauseous all day, and I was thinking to myself, oh great, maybe it's kind of easing up a little bit. She was 8 weeks early. I don't know if I said that yet. At 6 o'clock in the morning, or not 6 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the evening, I started feeling extremely nauseous again, out of the blue. But I didn't think anything of it. I had been nauseous the whole pregnancy, like I said. So I was just like, great, I hope I don't have to go to the hospital again. It didn't let up either. I kept being sick. I couldn't keep down the water. I finally got so exhausted I just tried to go to bed because I really didn't want to go to the hospital, and I did not think I was in labor at all. It didn't feel like anything that I'd heard of. So I just went to bed, had a little puke bowl next to my bed, and would wake up every few minutes puking. I eventually got tired of it. At about 2 o'clock in the morning, I got up to take a shower to try to help. I had been having what felt like constipation cramps along with the nausea. Of course, now I know that was the back labor. But at the time, I was like, well, maybe that's what's making me feel sick. Maybe I'm just got pregnancy constipation. I just can't get it out. So I was in the shower, felt that urge again, so I hopped out and, still butt naked, went across the way to my toilet. I felt a large splash at my feet, and I had my puke bowl on my lap, so I thought in the dark, well, maybe I just spilt it. Did not think there was my water, but instinctively I just reached down to check, and there was blood on my hands. Immediate red flag. So I reached in again, and I could feel her head crowning. That was when I started screaming for my husband. I was like, she's coming, call 911. I was panicking because I didn't know what to do. I'd never been through labor before, and I knew she was super early. So I just didn't know what to expect. He was on the phone with 911, and they are only right down the street from our house. They took less than 5 minutes to get there. But I had her and the placenta before they even arrived. I remember just feeling this push, like I was trying to poo, and like something shifted, and that was her head, and then one more push, and just like a split second of fiery pain, and that was her shoulders and everything else coming out, and I pulled her out myself. She had her umbilical cord wrapped around her neck. I noticed that she, at first I noticed that she wasn't screaming yet. I saw the umbilical cord wrapped around her neck. So I unwrapped it, just instincts kicked in. I put her up against my chest, started rubbing and patting her vigorously, and she started coughing up the mucus and stuff, and started screaming immediately afterwards. So as soon as I heard her screaming, it was just a huge relief, like huge weight just lifted off of me, and I was like, she's okay, she's breathing, at least for now. Like, the ambulance is coming, they know what to do. They had us find something to tie off the umbilical cord, and not a minute later, right before they got there, one more push and everything else came out into the toilet. I was sitting on the toilet the entire time. There was lots of blood everywhere. Just so you know, don't be afraid of that. That's just part of the lining that's in there. That's what's been feeding your baby this whole time. So blood is natural. And even afterwards, like, it scared me a little bit because I had like a blood clot that was about this big that came out afterwards. And I called my nurse, and she was like, oh, no, it's fine. That's normal. If you get more than, one of those every hour, you should call. But it was only one, and the rest of the time it was just like a really strong period for about 2 weeks. But, so the ambulance got there. They cut the umbilical cord for me. They had to take the placenta and everything with them to the hospital with us, just to make sure that everything came out, and they didn't have to go back in and get stuff out that was, still in there. I'd have to say, like I said, the labor itself was not painful at all. The most painful part of the entire thing was after they got me into the hospital, they took her to the NICU, put me in my room and everything, and, funny part, they opened my legs to see everything, and I'm like, oh, that's when it hit me. I was like, I didn't even think about me. What does it look like down there? And I didn't have any tearing at all. They said there was like minor laceration, no stitches required or anything. But then, they have you lay back and they massage your abdomen to try to get out any extra blood clots or fluid that might still be in there. And that was the most excruciating thing I've ever felt in my life. I have to say, that poor nurse, I had a hold of her wrist, and I almost broke her wrist. She said, oh my God, can you please hold on to the bed? Poor thing. But they were great, and, after that, I was much better. I was exhausted. I had to stay in the hospital for a couple days just so they could keep an eye on me, but everything was fine. I recovered very quickly. It only took me, I'd say, 3 weeks before I felt almost completely back to normal. She had to stay in the NICU, though, for a little over a month because she was so early. She didn't have the instinct to suckle yet. And while she was there, even though I tried to pump the way they told me to religiously, by the way, for those moms out there that have to deal with having a baby in the NICU, I feel you. Like, it's difficult. People say, oh, it's hard. No, it is very hard on you. Your hormones are going crazy. You just want to see your baby and know they're okay. And they will be okay, trust me. Like, the people who are there to take care of your baby, they know what they're doing. They have to deal with way more babies than you ever will have to, probably. And they know what they're doing. And they're there to take good care of your baby for you. They have so much experience. They check on them regularly. If you have any questions, they're more than happy for you to call and check on them and make sure your baby's doing okay, and they're so supportive. But because she was there for so long, my milk ended up drying up, and that's just something that happens. You don't need to feel guilty if the same thing happens to you. It just happens. There are formulas out there now that they didn't have a long time ago. They have all the things that your baby needs. And I know it's disappointing because you want to be there for your baby and to feel like you are taking care of them and stuff. But you're no less of a mom if you can't breastfeed. It's just something that can happen. So what took the longest was actually figuring out what formula worked best for her, because she was having a little bit of reflux and she didn't really want to eat by herself too much, so they had to have a feeding tube for the longest time. Once they figured out the formula that worked for her, actually, it only took about a week for her to be ready to come home. So that was the biggest hurdle. But now, when she was born, she was 4 pounds, 8 ounces, 19.5 inches long. Now she just celebrated her 3-month birthday, and she is a little over 10 pounds. She's 22 inches long now, and she's just doing so great. I am so blessed to have her. She's my little miracle. And, we joke because my husband is the 5th kid out of 10, and his mom is a trooper. Half the kids were adopted, but the other half, I think 3 of them, she had at home herself, like I did, with no epidural, no help from anyone else. And my husband was actually the first one that she had at home, and that one was unexpected. She had him, surprisingly, in the bathroom too. So the joke in the family is he's the king of the loo, and now my little Evelyn is the princess of the loo. So, little family joke there. But I just wanted to let you know, to all the moms out there that are worried, don't worry. I mean, labor is different for every woman. You could have pain, but the important thing to know is that your body knows what to do, and you will be okay. The technology is out there now. They know what they're doing. They were so helpful and informative. They walked us through everything. Just make sure you call the doctor or the hospital or the 911, because they are trained professionals. They know what they're doing, and you don't have to go through it alone. So, just good luck out there to all you moms. Even difficult pregnancies and shockingly, unexpected labors usually will end up okay. So, you'll be alright. Alright. Bye, guys. And good luck.